Hey guys, Paul Dillon here, jumping in at the start of this video to say that there's still a couple hours before this reaction releases, but I want to put in my guess for what this title is going to be, and I'm fairly certain it's going to be A God Buys Us Cheeseburgers, because that seems like out of the chapters we're probably going to cover this episode, that is the most interesting title from the two or three that we're going to get. But we'll see if I'm right when I come back. Hey guys, Dylan from the Geek Duo here, and today I'll be bringing you my reaction to Percy Jackson Season 1, Episode 5. And I was correct, because this is titled A God Buys Us Cheeseburgers. The quest deepens as Percy, Annabeth, and Grover are tasked with a favor from a fearsome opponent. Now, this whole plot point that's going to take up the entirety of this episode was completely dropped from the movie. Like, this chapter, and I'm going to assume that this is that would be a lot for this episode to take, because there's two big things that happen in this chapter and the next chapter. But I don't think that this one chapter would be enough for this whole episode. So, do we get the next chapter in this as well? But, yeah. Like, this whole plot, which comes back around at the very end of the book, mind you, was dropped from the movie. The main character that is a part of this plot was dropped from the movie. And, yeah, so it's going to be very entertaining to see this. Plus, what happened... Ooh, I wonder, are we going to see the others involved in this? Because we've already seen Hermes, who isn't in the first book at all. And we know we'll see him again. So I wonder if there's any other characters from future books that we're going to see in this series. Because there are a couple I could think about revolving around this. But I guess we'll find out in 3, 2, 1, go. It has been pointed out to me that in the Medusa episode and in the last episode, we are seeing a certain part of Percy that is very important to his character, but they're not explicitly touching upon it yet. And that does go back to something I was talking about at the end of the Medusa episode, so... Okay, so I may have spoiled a part of this episode. Okay. I accept that. Can you be so certain after what you just saw? Okay. Already this episode's thrown me. You're not meant to be wet. Get in here. Okay, I guess I'll tie you back in. I become a known fugitive and that. So instead of it being the bus to Jersey, it's the train. Yeah. Because her mum just spurned her and your dad saved you. Yet she was been devoted to her mum and you. Yeah. That is. That is not what it. Oh, it could be that too. I mean, you will fail to save what matters most. You really. She's thinking that line of the prophecy. You can't. Where is Shades? There they are. Okay. Um. Yeah. I mean, technically, he's a. Was he talking directly to Percy when he said your older cousin, or was he just meaning in general? Because that doesn't apply to Annabeth. That's uncle. You would. I love this Aries. Close. Hmm. Right. No technology at Camp Half-Blood. Really? Not even in the first 7 years, though? Regular steel hurts mortals, celestial bronze hurts monsters, demigods are susceptible to both. It was. Hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of meat. I don't think Grover's going to be eating much of that table. I mean, I can see why a nature would be a fan of war. That could also well be. Hmm. I mean, I can't tell if what he's saying is true or if he just knows to work how to work Aries, but There we go. I'm just turning my brightness up. That's not creepy. I think if I'm remembering the book correctly, they saw the shield in the boat and accidentally tripped it off while they were trying to grab it. Though I may be misremembering that. I forgot my chair was unlocked. It's a tale of asbestos. I did say thrill rider, love. Not quite how it happened. In the book, there was a closed gate that all the boats were smashing up against, and he had to use his water powers to propel them, and she had to use her smarts to find the exact same correct time. So they worked together to get over the. It wasn't really, even really a trap. Hmm. As I thought, playing it up. Oh, it's because they may be gods, but once they're bound, they're powerless. As I said, I'll have to see what that was afterwards. This is a pen. That is one thing I do like about the movie, is just Logan's delivery on that line. Well, this is very Midasy. Just thinking, what if mayhaps this is because neither of them would willingly sacrifice themselves for the other, honestly, so maybe that is the test. And how exactly is she going to get out? Had a feeling. Had a feeling about that. As soon as he walked in. If it is Midas based, then you should just be able to dunk him in the water. Had a feeling. See, Hephaestus was the one that I was talking about potentially seeing. I also thought maybe Aphrodite, but that shield is massive. What did you learn? Oh, I was like, who's it? I'm gonna say I know full well who he thinks it is. I can't remember if that's in the book. Him leaning that way. So, obviously, since the book's through Percy's perspective, that whole conversation between Grover and Ares in the cafeteria, well, in the diner, wouldn't have happened in the book. There's also the fact that Grover was at Waterland with them. That also makes it so it wouldn't happen in the book, but yeah, it's very interesting because I still can't exactly tell if Grover was just gassing up Ares to try and make it more bearable, or if he was genuinely saying he prefers the like those kinds of wars. He's actually a fan of those wars, or what. But yeah, what I was debating about, because this whole episode was one chapter, and I didn't think that Waterland was going to be enough for one chapter. But there was a lot of personal, like character driven parts of this episode. Our cast, well, mainly Percy and Annabeth, but Grover to an extent too, did get closer in this. So they added the part of chapter, what was it, 14? That I thought they were just going to skip over because they didn't do it with the bus. But no, they did. He is a known fugitive. They got the TV interview with Gabe and all of that. Like, that. I thought they were just skipping over that subplot because, like I said, it was meant to have started with the bus exploding. But having it work with the Amtrak, having there actually have been a thing on the Amtrak for it to have started with, that works, I guess. Having his Festus in the episode, much like how Hermes showed up after the Medusa thing, it works for what happened in the episode, and it does introduce us to some of our gods before we're actually meant to meet them. Because Hermes, oh, well, he obviously shows up in like Olympian councils and all of that, just in the background. Athena, I think, shows up in 3. Hephaestus, I don't think he actually has a talking role until the second series. Hermes shows up book 5 at the latest. I can't quite remember if he shows up earlier than that. Ares shows up book 1. Aphrodite shows up book 3. Poseidon, Zeus show up book 1, obviously. Hades shows up book 1, obviously. Hera, I think book 3 at the latest is when she shows up. She may show up before then. Dionysus, obviously, book 1. Apollo and Artemis are book 3. Demeter and Persephone are book 5 at the latest. Can't remember if they show up before then. Hestia shows up book 5. Not exactly part of the 12, but she does show up. I feel like I'm missing one. Zeus, Poseidon, Hera, Demeter, Aphrodite, Athena, Artemis, Apollo, Ares, Hephaestus, Hermes, and Dionysus. No, I didn't miss any, and I added Hestia. Okay, so yeah, there's only meant to be like 5 that show up in this first book. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. Of the initial 6, then you've got Ares and Dionysus of the second generation. So, those we've now also got Hephaestus, which means half of the 12 are in this first series. I was thinking maybe Aphrodite because of the relation to Ares and all of that. Could make sense because there was also meant to have been a trinket of hers that was left on the ride. Her scarf, which was imbued with a massive love potion that was also meant to be on the ride. There's this funny scene where Percy picks it up, he sniffs it, then Annabeth snatches it out of his hand, and she's like, no, you do not go near love magic. And then later on, it's actually seen in the attic of the big house amongst all the other trinkets and that. You see Aphrodite's scarf just thrown in the corner. But yeah. So Waterland was a bit different. A, because Grover wasn't there. B, because there's meant to be something that they get in Waterland that does show up again later. Because Annabeth's meant to pick up a like an inflatable ball. I know it sounds completely wild for me to say that's plot relevant, but it is. And so I wonder how they're going to get that. But Grover's meant to be outside because the ride only accepts 2. They jump over the gate that I said and landed another. I'm pretty sure they landed another boat, which takes them the rest of the way. Or the other end of the thing is drained, like the actual pathway, and they just walk out. They're meant to get to the end where they'll see Ares' shield. No, right. They get to the end. They see Ares' shield in the boat. Percy reaches in to grab it. Annabeth notices, hey, wait. There's a theta on the boat. And theta is the symbol for Hephaestus. And just as Percy grabs the shield and triggers the trap, she tries to warn him against it. Then celestial bronze netting shoots out of all the cherub statues. Yeah, this is actually before they go through the... I've got my order of operations mixed up. Yeah, celestial bronze netting shoots out of the cherub statues. They all turn and fire it so that it's crisscrossing the little bowl, I guess, that they're in. And that locks Grover out because he's on the top of the ridge and he tries to pull it apart. He even uses the flying shoes to try and get a better vantage point, but because it's celestial bronze, he can't do anything. And one of the cherubs, they actually start broadcasting, like, coming live to Hephaestus TV. Watch as... And it's meant to be Ares and Apollo, no, Ares and Aphrodite, are caught in this trap and broadcasted for all the gods to see. A, them together fraternizing, and B, trapped by Hephaestus. Because like I said, once they're trapped, they're powerless, they can't do anything, and they're at his mercy for them to be released or not. But yeah, there's also the fact that there's a whole bunch of animatronic spiders that are meant to start flooding out of the walls and that. And this is where we learn that all children of Athena have arachnophobia because of what Athena did to Arachne, turned her into a spider because she beat her in a weaving contest. Arachne is the mother of all spiders, and she sends her children to terrorize the children of Athena. And so that is where they actually all have arachnophobia, and that's meant to take Annabeth out of it because she is frozen in terror, and Percy has to come up with a plan to get them out of the trap, because Percy is a smart kid. He's got a very tactical mind. He's not like book smarts like Athena, or I guess he's not even really combat strategy like Athena or that, but he is a smart kid. And he reaches out, he senses the water from the Thrill Rider Love, bursts the pipes, drowns all the spiders, raises the boat up, and sends them into the ride. Then they're going through, they have a little bit of a talk, come across that barred gate where they have to work together, much like how Athena and Poseidon have had to work together in the past. And they escape, get to the other end, meet back up with Grover and everything with the shield. And that's how it happens in the book. It was coming back to me as I was explaining it, but yeah. There was no Hephaestus, there was no Midas chair or anything. It was a trap set by Hephaestus, but it was intended to catch Ares and thing. And they even question as they're approaching the pool, the shield and scarf are just sat there in the boat. And it's like, it almost seems like something scared them off. What could scare off gods? And then you learn, oh hey, it's a trap set by her husband. But on the other hand, this episode was a great building episode between Percy and Annabeth. It showed once again that aspect of Percy that I said the last couple episodes have been touching on. It also showed just Percy as a character. And yeah, there was also the fact that they brought chapter 2 of the book, which they completely skipped over. It had the fates. It was meant to be Percy and Grover traveling to the train station from Yancey Academy. Percy looks out the window, sees the fates on the side of the road. One of them cuts a thread. He's the one who's meant to see it. He tells Grover about it. Grover freaks out, comes back up later again in the book, and Percy starts worrying, was that me that the threads have cut? And I think it even does get brought up in relation to the prophecy, you will fail to save what matters most at the end. Could well mean Percy dies because he's seen the fates and all of that. But yeah, this episode had a lot in it, and it even had stuff that I thought they were taking out. I do have an issue with Percy being wet. He's meant to only be able to be wet if he wills it so. And it's just a minor nitpick, but yeah. He's meant to only be able to be wet if he wills it. But anyway, yeah. This was a good episode. And I'll catch you in the next one.